Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I got on here to talk about the big changes coming up in the world, in your world, and my world, and the big world around us. Right before I started this, I got let me adjust this here. I don't know if, well, it doesn't matter to you all. Okay. Got a text from a guy you all would know on another channel. um, Good guy, great guy. Smart guy. And he just sent me a one word text. And it said something to the effect of, I have great concern for the near future and the way things are headed. Well, I echo that about I don't like people to say 110% or 1,000%, things like that, because it's just ludicrous. I echo that 100%. We are in for a big change. Are you in for a big change? Are you ready for a big change? Or how is that change going to affect you? You know, I have been listening to a lot of things like you all have. I do want to talk about a little bit about what's coming up. Are you prepared for it? Are you ready for it? If you're not, what should you do? If you are ready for it, what should you do? And I'll interject this right here. I'll take it from one of my books on the back of the reversion, the first one of the Stonemont series. It says right up here, Jim Wyatt had always said that if everything fell apart, he didn't want to just survive. He didn't want to notice. And that's on the back of the reversion. That's my first book. This is the first of the Stonemont series. If you haven't read them, I wrote a whole series of books about preparedness, about what you all to do to be ready for any eventuality. If you read them, I hope you enjoyed them. I know a lot of you have. If you haven't, I'd suggest it, because I covered just about everything in there that would get you ready for anything that comes down the road. So there's that. I guess I should start off with what am I thinking about? What am I going to do? And then my suggestions for you all. I'm not going to do anything. I'm ready. I'm ready because preparedness should be an omnidimensional effort to prepare yourself to be able to provide for yourself in any situation that comes down the road, and to provide for those, take care of those in a myriad of areas for whatever comes down the road. And something's coming down the road, so here we are. I know a lot of people have these kind of favorite things for which they prepare. I've always said prepare for an EMP, because if you're prepared for that, you're prepared for pretty much everything else. That includes societal collapse, and in many ways it includes change of government. Now, we're coming up to a change of government tomorrow. Today is January 19, 2021. Tomorrow, a new administration is going to be sworn in that has a drastically different outlook on things. Okay. And now I know, and I have read, and I've read texts from people, and I have a couple of groups of people in my orbit who are great believers in the plan, and that tomorrow everything's going to come together. It's not going to be a change of administrations. It's going to be a return to the original Constitution. It's going to be a return to the Republic of the United States, as opposed to the Corporation of the United States. All these things, all of the bad people are going to be brought to justice. The security measures coming up in Washington are in order to enable the arrest of all the bad people. And then we're going to awaken to a new, renewed America the next day. I don't believe a word of it. Let me just put that very succinctly. I believe none of it. Okay. Doesn't mean I wouldn't like to see it. I would. Uh, but I don't believe it's going to happen. I used to tell people um, that, and I didn't invest. I heard this somewhere a long time ago, but I have used it so often myself, and that is, well, hope is cheap. Indulge yourself. Okay. But hope, like they say, in the plan, and like Joe Fox over on Viking Preparedness says, and I love this one. I don't use it because I don't want to copy him, because I want everybody, it's his. I think it's his. Uh, I don't know if he got it from somebody else, but he uses it, so it's his. And that is, people are smoking hopium. And that's the truth. You ever seen anybody that's just smoking themselves into oblivion? They don't care about anything, because they have enshrouded themselves in a mind-numbing chemical process that does not allow them to see the reality around them. And hope, for the most part, is a place people go when they want to leave the consequences or leave the future up to somebody or something else. I hope this happens. I hope that happens. I hope so and so does such and such, and so on. Now, I differentiate that from faith, which I put in God, and I have faith that God is going to do His will. Now, His will hasn't always been my will, and thank God for that. Any of us who, there's an old song about thank God for unanswered prayers. We all pray for things. We want things the way we want them. And we'll say, when we're younger and dumber, and we'll say, oh, God, please make this happen, or do this or do that and do that. And if it doesn't happen, very often we look back and say, oh my gosh, I am glad He didn't answer that prayer, because, I was praying from my own selfishness and stupidity. Everybody likes to think that God is on their side. Well, God is on. I didn't mean this to get into religion, and I'm going to get off of it right away. But the thing is that God is on God's side, and we don't need to worry about whether He's on our side. We need to worry about us being on His side, and He's going to do His will. So what His will is can be very surprising sometimes, and it's not always what we want, but it's always what should happen. Okay, done with religion. A lot of people hope, okay, and those people. Now, I'm going to say I don't believe a word of that stuff, and I don't. If that 1/1,000,000th of 1% chance comes through, and everything that they have said does happen tomorrow or whenever it's supposed to happen, well, I'll come back on here and just say how sorry I am and how stupid I was for they were right and I was wrong, and I am so happy, because there probably won't be any need for any of this after that, because everything's just going to be great after that, right? Okay, so if I'm wrong, I will come right back on here and say, boy, I was wrong. But I don't think I am. Okay. Tomorrow, a new administration is going to take hold in our country, and it is going to take us in a different direction than we have been going over the last 4 years. Now, the politics of this, I'm really not going to get into. I'm going to put that over on American Reversion, because that's the place for that. This is for preparedness. If you have been preparing over the last 4 years, you're in good shape. This isn't going to shake you up, okay? Back when people were asking me what to invest in, a year or two ago, something like that, and I said guns and ammo. If you did that, you're fine. You shouldn't be out there looking for guns and ammo. I've heard people say, you better buy ammo no matter how much you have to pay for it. Well, that's silly. Why would you buy ammo that's 3 times the price that it ought to be if you can get it, okay? You should have done it back when it was cheap. This is a part of preparation, okay? So hopefully, if you did what you should have been doing over the last 4 years, when we all said, okay, we've got a reprieve from what had happened before. Do you remember what had happened before? Well, we're about to return to that starting tomorrow, and probably on steroids. Because of a few things. Maybe I'll talk about that over on American Reversion. But if you did all the things that you should have done and you prepared all the things, you're going to do right what I'm going to do, and that is just sit back and watch the show. Now, does that seem hard-hearted? Does that seem hard-hearted for me to say I'm just going to sit back and watch the show? I'm not going to enjoy the show. It's going to be horrible. There's going to be people whose lives are torn apart. Okay? We are going down. The economy is going back down, and there's reasons for that. And it's going to go down harder and faster. We are going to see an increase in the infringements on our rights. Okay, but we know that. We should have known that, and that should be what we've been preparing for. Hopefully you are. We are going to see more and more people taking bankruptcy, more and more people losing their jobs. We're going to see an influx of other workers coming into our country. We're going to see an increase in crime. We're already seeing crime explode. And I don't just mean the riots that happened all last year. I mean crime itself. Crime is exploding all across the country. Police departments are overwhelmed with what's happening, and I'm going to do another one maybe in the next couple of days because I had a viewer ask me for it. It's one I'm wanting to do anyway. What's going to be happening in the cities, and we're going to see a great change in the policing in our country. We could see a disruption of supply chains. We could see a number of things. We are going to return to a time when we have to be very serious and very careful about everything that we do and say. Now, that's just a fact. I mean, hey, hope, right? Hope it doesn't happen. Hope all you want. It's cheap. Indulge yourself. But, and I wish, okay, I wish it weren't so. Well, let's make a wish. Okay. Now, I know that I'm smiling a little bit. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a smiling matter. I'm trying to express kind of my amusement at all the people who seem to have just thought that everything was going to go along and be fine. Whatever made anybody think that everything would continue to be fine? That's not the way the world has ever been. The world has always had ebbs and flows, ups and downs. It has always had good times and bad times. And during the good times, people have a tendency to just kind of fritter away, and say, boy, these are the good times. And they forget. They forget that bad times were here before and bad times will be here again. So when the bad times come, they suffer. This is what preparedness is about. Okay, preparedness is about using the good times to prepare for the bad times so that you don't have all the hills and valleys, ups and downs, and all that. You live a life that has consistency in which you're able to provide for you and yours a good quality life. You should not. We need to separate here. We should separate the idea of preparedness from the political. Okay, too many people have gotten wrapped up in that. Although we have to pay attention, the political does have an effect on the quality of life and our freedoms and all of that. But we need to separate that from preparedness, in that those who are prepared understand that there are always going to be those ups and downs, those hills and valleys. And preparedness is to be able to establish a baseline on which you can live a good quality life regardless of what's going on around you. And there are many people who have always done that. Okay, the people with the most money, the people who live, how should I say this, alternative lifestyles, and I don't mean that the way that it's been used over the last decade or more. Those who have chosen to be able to function outside of a system that has that they don't want to have affect them. Being gentle with my language here. There have always been people who have learned from history. The fact that most people don't learn from history and just continue to consume during good times instead of consuming some and putting away a lot, those people don't understand the dynamics of history. So let's get away from that right now and go back to what you should do. Okay, if you are not ready, here's how you get ready. Stop spending money that you don't have to spend. Okay. Now, there's a whole nother aspect of this that I've had people ask me about my opinion of the reset. I'll do a separate one on that because that gets really, really, well, once you go down that hole, it's hard to get back out. Stop spending money you don't have to. Okay. And I've said this before. Increase your income. Increase your income streams. If you have something you can do and people will pay you for it, get on it, because you could be losing your job. If you have a job that's determined to be non-essential, we could see now, of course, they may be reopening the economy. I don't mean to get political again, but because of political reasons, they look like they might be reopening the economy. That means that jobs may be coming back. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to come back, because plenty of people have already lost their businesses. They've already lost their jobs. They're gone. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to find something new to do. They're going to start cranking out extended unemployment benefits, but for how long are they going to do that? The result long term is going to be, of course, inflation. And when you have a kind of a limited income, inflation kills you. Now, I know some guys who are pulling out sizable amounts of money out of the banks because they think that the banking system is going to fail. I don't know, could be, but I've always said keep cash at home, because you always, there may be glitches in the system for whatever reasons. You want to have control over your resources. Again, that's a basic premise of preparedness. Control over your resources, control over your food, control over your water, control over your defense, control over your money, your resources, your ability to have an effect on the world around you. Now, to that end, I made one, I just put one up over on Patreon that I would suggest everybody go over and watch, and it was called Being an Adaptive, Beyond Gray Man. But I've always said, now, a guy ought to be able to play the gray man role. A lot of us have done that. I did it in high school. But to be able to be an adaptive, I talk about that over there. And if you're not over on Patreon yet, you ought to get over there. We cover stuff over there we don't cover here. And it's going to be more and more important to know these things as we take this turn into kind of a new world. It's not going to be a brave new world. It's going to be a challenging new world. So if you're not ready yet, get ready. You got some time. It's not all going to change tomorrow, but it's going to start changing fast. As I've said before, top off your tanks. Make sure you've got plenty of fuel. If you use propane, if you use that, get that. If you haven't maxed out your food stores, now is a great time to do it, because the prices are just going to go up. Whether or not you think that you're going to need this, whether or not you believe that there are going to be shortages again, whether or not you believe that there will be supply chain interruptions, the prices are going to start going up. And if you prepare now and stock up on your food stores, you're going to be eating food that costs less than you'll pay for it, than you would pay for it down the line. That means you just put more money or kept more money in your pocket. You're going to need that money. You're going to need as much money as you can generate. So for those who just kind of say, well, I'm going to go off into my little hidey hole. Now, if you got a hidey hole that's self-supporting, great. That's a great place to be right now. Okay. If you live either on your own or in a community that is pretty much self-sustaining, you're in a good way. But most people aren't. And so now is the time to start developing that. Bring your family, bring your friends in tighter. Talk about things. Tighten up that mutual support system that you have. And if you don't have one, keep your eyes and ears open for people who are like-minded. Maybe something like this, because this will kind of get people attuned to what they ought to be doing. It's been gravy for the last 4 years. Well, it's not going to be gravy for a while now, and it's going to be a time to see really what you're made of. These times focus people. The next few years are going to be a time when people take good hard looks at things they haven't been looking hard at for a while. And it's going to hurt a lot of people. Do the things that you need to do so that it doesn't hurt you. And like I say, what I'm going to be doing is sitting back and watching. There are going to be great opportunities come up. Okay, as inflation rises, the housing market is going to collapse. You're going to be able to buy land here in about a year. People have asked me. Okay, so I'm just telling you. I've said 2 years ago, buy guns and ammo. I didn't say buy precious metals. Okay, I said don't buy land because it's too high. Well, give it about a year, and you'll be able to start buying land again pretty cheap. So now is the time not to go, oh, boo-hoo, I missed my chance. I missed, I did too late. I didn't do what I should have done. Okay, hunker down, get a grip, do the small things well, and they turn into big things, and wait. Okay, don't spend money you don't have to. Stick it in in your safe at home, and be ready. Be ready for when that land starts going down in price. I know people have heard, we've heard in this last, year or something like that, people are moving out of the cities and into the country. And it's driving land prices up. Yeah, it is. That's going to turn around. Because as people start losing jobs more, as bankruptcies increase, which there already are, as people start losing their homes, when somebody loses their home, they don't go out and buy land in the country. Okay, they end up in an apartment somewhere, or living with somebody, or buying a rental, or not buying, but trying to make do in a rental property. And hard times are coming. It's going to be sad to watch. Just don't make it sad for you. So we're going to be talking about this a lot more after this election. And I do invite you to join me over on American Reversion. That's where we're going to be talking more about the political stuff. And join me over on the Patreon. I'll put the links down here because that's when we'll be where we talk about more things than we talk on here. Until then, remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So do prepare. It's not too late. It's too late to be real prepared for what's going to happen next week, but it's not too late to either start or improve your preparedness efforts. So with that, I wish you a good day. I'll see you probably tomorrow, and have a good one. Bye-bye.